It's Radio Skid Row 88.9 and this is The Good Smoke. 9550-9552 is the number that you have to call if you want to talk to me. I'll take the phone off the hook so then when the song breaks go on you can call in between then, because I don't want this interview to be destroyed by ringtones and all that sort of stuff. And also check out radioskidrow.org and goodsmoke.com.au. And sorry I started late because I was playing the song and I thought it went for 4 minutes and I started talking to the guest and we got lost, so it was a good conversation. So today I lined this interview up for a few months now. We're trying to get together and we've unfortunately gone astray into different roads that we had in our lives, so we finally got it. It's the end of the year and so I think it's fitting because Christmas time's coming up and this man himself has been around the block for a few times and he's been serving the community of Dulwich Hill and Marrickville for about 30 plus years now, I think it is.
30 years, brother.
Yeah, 30 years, just on 30 years, yeah. And if you didn't see my Facebook today, this guest is, to me, is a local hero and I really look up to the things that he's doing. Been watching him on the internet for about a year now. A lot of people have been posting about you. It's today we have Father Dave in the building. What's up, Father Dave?
Hey, brother.
Yeah, good. If you just move that mic closer to your mouth.
Sorry,
yeah, just pull it toward.
Oh.
Manhandle it.
All right.
Yeah. If you want earphones, there's earphones there. If you feel like it, you don't have to.
Got the earphones.
So you can hear my voice as well.
Well, then I can hear if you can.
Now it sounds more
that's good.
Personal, eh?
It's intimidating.
I'll stand back a bit. It's Father Dave. Father Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, brother.
And thank you for lining this up. I know you're a very, very, very busy man, especially in the evenings at this time.
Mate, this is our boxing club's going now, so...
Yeah. So I really appreciate it.
With the boys.
Yeah.
Hey, how could I say no?
Yeah. I suppose it's the way it goes, Everything lines up for a reason. And today I wanted to bring you in because I know you got a lot of coverage out there from all the big shots up there, and no shots at them, but they're doing a good job too. But it's I'm just a local radio station here, and I thought you do local stuff, and my motto here is that we're trying to show good things that are happening in the big smoke, and I believe you're one of those things, and I believe you're good smoke. So I just wanted to represent you, and I want to start off with a lot of your interviews. You mentioned Dulwich Hill and what happened back in the day there.
Yeah, brother.
And how bad it was.
Mate, to say it was bad, it just was a rough neighbourhood. When I got there, no one else. I went there because no one else wanted to go there. From a priest point of view. No one. They'd been vacant for years. No one wanted to be there. They put me there to close the place.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to be there. Well, I was trying to finish a uni degree as well at that stage, looking to go overseas. It was just supposed to oversee its closure, and we're still going 30 years later.
Before this, all the fame came about. I say fame, but all the fame came about for you.
Fame, maybe, yeah. Notoriety.
Notoriety, yeah, okay. Mind you, my vocabulary ain't that big, so you can correct me wherever we go. But just before even getting into your faith and all that, you're a young kid, trouble kid as well. Yeah.
And this is my area,
Newtown, you were born in Newtown?
Newtown, yeah.
In the 60s?
Yeah, 62. But, I always remember Dulwich because, when I was at school, what was it, the Dulwich soccer team, I think, drew a knife on our ref, you wouldn't, I used to support the Jets. I've always supported the Jets. I've always supported the Jets.
Shout out to the Jets.
I want to come to Henson Park. You wouldn't come by Dulwich Hill, as a kid.
Oh, really?
No, mate. No,
well, what is it? I don't know if you know this gentleman. His name's Romeo George, and he was brought up in the area too.
Yeah, right.
And he said the same thing. It was really rough.
It wouldn't matter if it's the shortest way, right? But you wouldn't. You go via Sydenham or whatever. You just wouldn't go via Dulwich Hill, mate.
What was it there?
Well, we had the legends were here.
Yeah, I know. Like we'll talk about Jeff Fennick and stuff like that.
Well, we had gangs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't. No, I can tell you now. When we got here, like in 1990. If you're a teenage boy, you don't walk the streets at night.
No,
or a teenage girl. But most of the guys I was working with, the boxers, the boys, but they would just not. You just wouldn't go out at night.
At all.
No, mate. It's just too much. There was a lot of violence, but a lot of it in that stage in the 90s was associated with heroin trade.
Yeah,
mate, there was a huge heroin trade. Like within a block of our church, there were like 3 safe houses at one stage.
Yeah.
Mate, a lot of our kids were busted in that. We started our Get Off the Gear, Get Into the Ring program in '91. And that's when we started the boxing, the wrestling, and all that sort of stuff we were doing. and opening up the church hall just for local kids to use.
To hang out and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
first we started trying to teach them wrestling, and that didn't really work. And then we just started hanging some bags up and let them come in and start punching.
Box,
and they start coming in.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But and by the time we went full time in '94 as a youth drop-in, and had youth worker team and all that sort of thing. But 9 out of 10 kids we were dealing with had heroin issues then. But Dulwich Hill was like the heroin capital of the inner west.
Yeah.
There was a direct Cabramatta Dulwich Hill connection.
Yeah.
And not even like Marrickville. It was direct Dulwich Hill Cabramatta, and there was just so much stuff. I remember once I was at a meeting of like local priests, and they were talking about what's the biggest problems in their parishes, and I said, look, the amount of stolen property on the church.
to get on, yeah.
The numbers, car radios being traded,
gangster priest you were, eh?
Mate, I got it from my cousin. Yeah. Shut the,
the front door, yeah,
mate,
yeah.
But there was so much trafficking going on,
yeah.
mate, and I was just making sure it wasn't happening on the premises.
Yeah.
If it happened on the street out the front, I'd get out and I'd tell them where to go.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's right. But I would make sure I would try and stop it happening on the premises. We had guys drying out every afternoon. We had people ID on the church property as well.
Yeah.
But I figured, look, they're a lot safer drying out in the church hall than where they're going to get robbed. But then that OD, they'd lock themselves in the toilet and that OD in there or something, and then you'd have to. I remember one of our youth workers once got the hose on and put it inside the cubicle. Got him out,
Yeah.
But other guys, I still remember carrying one guy over my shoulder who'd OD'd and trying to get to the hospital, and he's like, I'm finishing my basketball. I said, well, get them. Mate, this guy, I'm carrying a guy on my shoulder, for God's sake, there were some rough times. There were some really rough times. A lot of stolen property, a lot of violence, a lot of, a lot of death. It was like a war zone. We used to have every year a group of kids would come through, and some of those kids would go to jail, and when they hit 18 particularly, but and some would die, and some would be good.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ones we worked with were good.
Yeah.
And that was not all of them though.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of friends in those times. Good kids, girls as well as guys, mainly guys.
Yeah.
Mainly guys.
Yeah.
There's always so we work always mainly with the guys, which is, so look, I've got 3 daughters, I wish we worked more with boys, but on the other hand, it was the boys who were overdosing, it was the boys who were suiciding.
More prone to the drugs.
Boys were doing most of the, so.
All the bad stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but it was the same as I was when I was a young idiot, I never met anyone worse than me.
That's what I was going to ask, even you having a father with a faith background, being a preacher, and he spoke in church and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't make me better than anybody else.
No. What I was going to ask is that the one that's closest to pastor's son usually is the most rebellious,
Maybe that's it, brother.
And you became that person. You became rebellious at a young age.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to ask, a lot of people see priests as old, washed up guys that just run a church and whatever, but
that's me now.
No, you're far from it, man. You're far from it, and I'm not judging those others. I don't know what they're doing, but what I see from you is that you're being practical with your faith and stuff like that. It's so fitting that you're helping the youth out because you've been through it too. What is it that drew you to the youth in the beginning?
To the youth, because I saw it's the same as myself, but. It's interesting, so you just reminded me, I did another interview ages ago. They said, well, why the fuck did you join the church?
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sake. And I said, mate, to maintain the rage. And I meant it, in a sense that, for my understanding, Jesus was swimming upstream. You know what I mean? It was not fitting in with where society. He used to go in the total opposite way. Now he's speaking a message of hope and new life, you know what I mean? But it's just cutting across the grain where people are at, and I mean, you don't get yourself killed for going around telling people to be nice to each other.
That's right. Yeah.
You get yourself invited to speak at a Rotary dinner.
President's house or something there.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, there was a lot of antagonism and conflict there. And it's because he was on the other side, you know, he was rubbing people up the wrong way, you know, maintaining the rage, I think, in a sense. So I think from my angle, this is exactly the sort of thing you'd expect to find.
Or should
the
expect
church
to find. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of churches are doing good stuff, you know. I mean, yeah, there are a lot that are sort of more like middle-class golf clubs.
Yeah.
Or sort of spiritualised golf clubs.
Or retired men.
You know, that's I don't know how that happened. You know, how the church became the sort of bastion of middle-class moralism. I don't know. But maybe the blessing for me has always been the boxing club and just always just mixing with the guys and being real. You know,
yeah,
and,
being connected to the people.
And I got to be honest, brother. You know, most of the time, you know, maybe now especially, I feel more at home often with the boys in the club and girls.
Yeah.
You know, they're people who are battling, you know, with broken relationships and you know, history of
like
pain.
all of us, like all of us.
Like all of us, you know. I think in church we tend to hide it a lot better.
Yeah, hide our pain.
It can get very pretentious, you know. Like I'm not saying that's how all churches are.
No, but there's a common belief around with faith, any faith, not just Christianity, but we're speaking from where we're from, that there's once you get to that club, that everything changes. And I think when there's a group of humans together, it happens in all spheres, it happens in government, it happens in little community centres, that people just don't get along and start being corrupt. And then you have the one in the whole pack, but unfortunately they're not the ones promoted, really, you know. It's all the corruption that's...
Look, I think it's sort of inevitable, you know, because you think with a faith community, it's built around certain ideals, you know, and you've got a certain concept of the people you want to be.
Yeah.
And so the temptation is just to pretend you are.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just say, look, that's not me, but, you know, I respect that.
Yeah.
That's
what you do.
Yeah, you know, that's Jesus, that's not me, but, you know, hey, I love him and I'm doing my best.
So let's talk about how you met faith. Like, what was the first encounter for you?
For me, I mean, I was brought up in a Christian household. You know?
But was it?
But yeah, I got.
Did you have to believe that? Or
I got
was there
very.
research?
I got very. I'd say anti that. You know, like when I was a teenager, I had a short life expectancy. I think. You know, I was into some pretty stupid stuff, and you know, so.
Were you in fighting while you're doing
that sort of thing? Yeah, you know, just being a tough idiot. Okay. And my mum died when I was 16. I remember I sort of went off the rails a bit after that. I just had a lot of anger, you know, and expressed that in bad ways, you know. And nothing I'm proud of now. I can tell you, you know, looking back, nothing I'm proud of. But maybe that's why, you know, when I see other kids sort of the same, I think, well, I've never met anyone worse than I was, you know. You know, other kids, they're angry, they're a bit lost, a bit confused, a bit all over the place. Yeah, fair enough. That was me too. You know?
Once
I don't look down on anyone, you know, don't judge anyone. You know, if they're using whatever to deal with their pain, you know, okay, that's good. I was just lucky when I was that age there wasn't heroin around, I would have been using too.
You reckon?
Like 100%, bro.
Yeah, what's that?
Mate, someone wants you.
I don't know, someone. Probably that's God warning us. I don't know what that was, but
someone doesn't love what
but yeah, once those the youth do start to realise who you are, what your story's about, how you weren't always a priest and all that stuff. How do the kids react to you?
Mate, I don't. No one asks me about my story, you know. You do, but kids don't say, "Oh, Dad, what's your story?" Hey, Father, you know, how's it going, mate? But the more important, the connection for me is with the boxing. You know, we get physical with each other, and I think that's like a real leveler. You know, like, I mean, I used to do this in the prisons. You know, well, wrestling, particularly teaching kids and that, and that's a intense environment. You know, we got juvenile prisons. You know, but there's some big boys in there, and there's some tough boys, and every time, you know, you get to wrestle a new guy, and he's going to try and break your neck. You know,
trying to prove himself.
Yeah, of course. And then the thing is, then you flip him over, you get in the position where you could break his arm if you wanted to, but you don't. You know, and the point, I think there's a sort of light bulb goes on, because it's like, I think for a lot of these guys, they've always associated male authority with abuse. You know, maybe it was their dad or their uncle or whoever. The only men they've known who've been more powerful than them have beaten on them. You know, and here you've got a bloke who actually, I was trying to hurt him, and now he's in a position, he hurt me, but he's actually not interested in doing that. And that's, all of a sudden they says, whoa, you know, relationship of trust. that's there. And this is like in the prison environment, you know. And again, afterwards you find yourself, you know, the kids sort of sitting there next to you, oh mate, it just reminds me of the time with my brothers out the backyard, you know, all this stuff coming up.
Start remembering.
Yeah, but I used to say to the, you know, they have like in the juvie the more like social workers as well as just like guards and that, and they'd always say to them, look, I reckon I can build a trusting relationship here in about 5 minutes, when it maybe takes you about 5 months, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
they're trying to connect.
We're just we're communicating in that very primitive language of fighting. You know, that's why I say I think fighting is not only one of the most fundamental forms of competition, it's one of the most fundamental forms of communication.
Yeah. And it's embedded in a human being.
I think it's particularly in the male DNA, you know. I don't want to be sexist about it, you know. But, mate,
you don't know what?
Look, I've been doing this now, running my fight club 30 years, you know, and the ratio has always been, say, 10 to 1. 10 boys for every girl, you know. And so I've got 3 girls. I wish I could be more help for the girls, but the girls who come for a different reason. Most boys who come for a boxing club come because they're angry. They want to hit someone, or they're being hit on and they want to be able to hit back. You know, most girls who take it up, they're interested in the sport, maybe. You know, that's why a lot of the girls, mate, a lot of the girls stick with it. You know, back in the 90s, particularly when we were running that Get Off the Gear, Get Into the Ring program, you know, with a lot of the kids, we'd help them deal with their issues, you know, and they'd get off the gear and they'd lose interest in boxing. Okay, they don't want anything. You know, I had one guy say, you know, Dave, I don't think God wants me to hurt people anymore. You know, this guy had 3 straight knockouts. I said, yeah, mate, he does, you know.
So it's like fire burning out fire, like the fight. It's like you're releasing that energy to not be a fighter.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of guys take it up because they've got issues. You know, they've got issues, male ego issues, anger issues, whatever issues, you know what I mean? The girls, that's why it's... See, being a fighter makes a boy more of a man, doesn't make a girl more of a woman.
That's
right?
True,
It's a different dynamic.
A tougher, which is just tough.
It'll make it tough. And I'm pretty sure, I've had some girls who've come in who've like been assaulted and they want to learn to fight back, right? But that's different. They generally, you say, okay, well, let's get in the ring. Oh, I couldn't hit you. Well, hang on, you're in the wrong place. You know, and don't touch me. Okay, this isn't going to work.
That's right.
You know, so it just doesn't work the same way. You know, but for the boys,
women have that nurturing nature about them.
Well, whatever. I don't want to like ascribe too much to genetics at that level. You know, but it's true that, as from what I understand, that there's been no society in human history where women have done most of the fighting and men have done most of the childcare. You know, maybe that will happen one day, but at the moment we're not there. And at the moment, there's something about fighting for the male psyche that works, reaffirms masculine identity, all that sort of thing. Now that can be very destructive, you know, and there's plenty of fight clubs out there too which will take an angry person and make him into an angry, violent person, you know.
A professional angry person.
That's right. Just make him more effective in his violence. You know? Obviously, that's not our role. And you know the parish priest is the run of the club. You know, he's on the agenda.
There's no, exactly. Unless he wants to use those fighters for something.
But that's also the great point of communication, because, who's else the priest? You know, well, you get in, you try and knock him out, man. Have a go.
Yeah, have a go. And the priest is willing. It's a whole other story,
Well, you find out quickly that it's not that easy to knock me out.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen you fight, man. You got some hands on you, so it's good.
Mate, thank you. But look, I tell you what I love, and I do. This happens all the time. All the time. Guys come in. Yeah, let's do a couple of rounds together. You know. Okay, we're going to go easy. Yeah, go. Bang, 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 right? I give them a couple of hard ones back and their body slow them down a bit, right? Then I talk to them and I say, look, what are we trying to do here? What are we trying to do here? You know, to learn, you want to learn how to box. The best way to learn to box is to box, right? So I say, if we do a couple of rounds like you're doing now, we're going to do 1, maybe 2 rounds before you've got a bloody nose, you've got to stop, right? I say, we box the way I want to box, you can do 10 rounds. Now, how are you going to learn, which one are you going to learn more from? You know, you're going to learn more from the 10,000 hours. That's exactly. See, I really believe that. I really do.
That's true. Yeah.
I really believe
like
that.
You say in your interviews, it's all, like as you're getting older, you're starting to lose a bit of your power, but you're using more of your wit. Like you're praying about it.
Look, there's stuff comes. It's like everything. Exactly what you say. 10,000 hours. I've done my 10,000 hours in the ring. You know, I did my maths once. I thought, I've done 10,000 hours in the actual ring while some good people have done that. You know, and it's something Big Bob Merovic said to me once really stuck with me. Big Bob, one of Australia's greats. He said to me, Dave, the difference between the world champion and the average Joe in the ring is the world champion can stop the punch here, like, and I'm putting my hand like 1 centimetre from my face, right? Yeah. Instead of here when I'm touching my face, right? Like it's this
inches.
It's this 1 centimetre or half a centimetre difference where you're able to make sure the punch just falls short. And how do you get that sense of that distancing, along with the timing, along with the angles, along with knowing when to roll? You know, I get it all the time. How did you know to roll that punch there, mate? I don't know. Because I've been here 10,000 hours doing it. That's how, you know. Yeah. So look, it's like anything. You know, it's like you want to be a great violinist, you want to be a great accountant, you want to be. You put in the hours. And this is what I say to the boys: you want to learn to box, put in the hours. Now you box like that, you're going to be doing a couple of minutes each time you come, and then maybe you won't be able to come back for a week because you've got a broken nose.
Face or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's one thing that you mentioned. The 3 things that men want, which is very interesting, was women, work, and fighting.
Well, I just say most men were defined by 3 loves. You know, we love women, we love to work, we love to fight.
And where does that? See, there goes.
Mate, something
outside.
Like I say that, man. But no, look, not every man loves to fight. I understand that. Not every man loves women, and I got that's fair enough. You know, people are different. People are people. You know, but for most of us, I reckon, men, it's deep inside of us. You know, something about rumbling. Like I say, even in the prisons, the rest of it, you know, everywhere when you rumble, it brings back all this stuff.
It does. I agree with that.
Like me and my brothers. Like when me and my dad were little in the backyard before he died. You know, whatever. And it's, you know, there's something about men doing rough play with each other.
Stacks on and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I remember at school. It taps
into something, man. You know, which is why I know a lot of the schools now they have this no touching rule. You know, which I think it's very hard for the boys. You know, they want to be able to
rumble,
to rumble. You know, I appreciate there's a problem with violence and bullying. You know, I don't want to minimise that in any way, right? But there's got to be a balance there somewhere where you allow for rough play.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the whole thing. And in a sense, it's what I'm trying to do with the boxing. That's the reason I teach boxing now. I don't teach any because I used to teach kickboxing, MMA.
Oh, okay, all the rough stuff, yeah.
Mate, the problem when I was doing MMA, I actually wrote the rules for the original rules approved by the state government. But like,
really?
We're going back into the 90s.
Before UFC?
But well, UFC had started, but it wasn't in this country at that stage.
Oh, okay.
So I was actually trained by the UFC guys when they first came out here, but that's back in the 90s. But well, look, the original rules I wrote is like no hitting the guy's head on the ground, you know, no holding him in your headlock and punching him without, you know, they were just designed to make it
behind the head and stuff like that.
Designed to make it family friendly. You know,
entertainment value as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but trying to find a balance between being entertaining and safe.
Yeah.
You know, but see, it's all the MMA's like gone to cage fighting. To like UFC style, you know, just like all the kickboxing. So all my amateur fights were kickboxing initially, and in those days we were wearing shin pads and there was no knees.
Oh, really?
Mate, see, the most deaths in the ring are in Thailand, and they're from knees. See, people think it's the elbows cut up. I mean, the elbows do. They cut up your face. They make you look ugly, but they don't kill you. You with the knees, you can urinate out your kidneys after a fight. And I tell you, man, that's a painful way to go. I've been in hospital with kidney disease. I tell you, man, that's the worst. So I know that's why all the kickboxing went towards Muay Thai, all the MMA went towards cage fighting. For me, like if you're getting paid 30,000-40,000 a fight or something, okay, you take your chances. I totally respect that. But you're a kid doing it for a plastic trophy. Come on. You know, and the rules are the same. You know, so am I going to let my son? You know, I've got a son. I'm going to let him get in there and maybe be brutalised like that? No. You know? Am I going to let him brutalise someone else like that? No. You know? So I think boxing for me is like, it's the safest form of pugilism we've got left, with the exception of, say, Olympic wrestling. But the Olympic wrestling's got no street cred. You know, not in this country.
So, and tied with the theory you just said about how we have that fight in us, are you saying there's like a middle ground? And you're saying MMA has gone too far?
Totally. I can't support it. I think with what we've got, rough play. What you've got to find, what's the distinction between a sport and a street fight, right? And if you've got a good chance of getting maimed or killed, I don't think it's a sport, you know. And so for me, boxing's got, particularly amateur boxing. Okay, professional boxing, we take our chances. I understand that. You know, we're getting paid. But amateur boxing, mate, it's run by dads, you know, looking after their sons, and the refereeing and everything. It's the only sport where you've got like 4 people there whose main job it is to make sure no one gets hurt. You've got the referee, that's his main job, make sure no one gets hurt. You've got 2 cornermen with a towel ready to throw in. See in the bloody cage, they're on the wrong side of the cage. And then you've got the doctor, who, and not just the first aid person, but has to be a registered doctor for every boxing match. And they could overrule the referee and the cornerman and say, just stop the fight, I want to see that guy's okay.
And you also got cut specialists for like cuts and stuff like that?
Well, that's more like in the professional level. Okay. The stakes are higher there, right? I appreciate that. You take a chance as a professional. It's more high risk, for sure. But amateur boxing, mate, you know, I'd love to. My son, daughters, are very happy to see them in amateur boxing. You know, I think it's the safest form of pugilism we have left.
Father Dave, let's hang on to that point. We're going to play some songs, some music, so get these people to be entertained, get resettled, and then we'll come back. I'm going to play, this one's called Higher by Jesse Whitney. He's a Aussie gentleman. I've had this song for a while, but I love playing it because it's chilled. If you're liking this, hit me up on Facebook, message me if you have a question. Call that number 95509552 or radioskidrow.org or goodsmoke.com.au. It's Radio Skid Row 88.9. It's Radio Skid Row 88.9 and you're listening to The Good Smoke. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? If you just tuned in, remember that number 95509552, also radioskidrow.org and goodsmoke.com.au. Check out all the social medias, type in that type in the name Good Smoke, Radio Skid Row. And also you can check out Father Dave on Facebook, just type in Father Dave. He also has a page for the boxing club that you have as well on there too. So.
And also fatherdave.org.
Yeah, Father Dave, that's right, fatherdave.org as well, so check that out. He's got some blogs up there as well you've been doing.
Fatherdave.com.au, mate, it's all there.
It's all there, it's all there. And I've linked it to my page as well, so people can check it as well. Alright, it's unfortunate, but all the good conversations happen when we're off the air, but you know, we're going to try to recreate it again. We're talking about religion and philosophy, and you've got what do you call it, a PhD in philosophy, is it?
I wish, brother. I wish. It was my first love, and I did a university degree, honours degree, honours degree in philosophy.
And then you got two degrees in theology, is it?
Yeah, I've got a few, yeah.
Have you got a few more than that?
No, that's about right.
It, yeah?
Man, I take a lot of hits to the head. How many of I?
You forgot them all, yeah. Well, let's get into philosophy, because what we were talking about is that with the world and with philosophy, they say that once you know the truth, it leads you to do the truth. Whereas the faith that we believe in with Jesus in the book of Mark, as you were saying, when we do the truth, we know the truth.
It's actually the book of John.
Oh, John was okay.
But no, just Jesus saying, if you do my commandments, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Yeah. The point being simply that that's the opposite of the old Socratic model, you know, that's been our tradition in Western philosophy, has been that, you know the truth. You know, if you know the truth, you'll do the truth. You know, I think that was very much questioned by Marx and others, but the reality is, it doesn't work like that. It's not just, you know, what Kierkegaard we were talking about. It was my hero. I wrote my thesis on.
What was his name again?
Søren Kierkegaard. He's a Danish guy. Actually, I named my son after him. So you know.
Oh, really? Yeah. Nice.
My son Søren. But yeah, he said all knowledge is a dialectical interplay of knowledge and will, which is a really obscure way of saying that whatever you know, it's partly what you really know and partly what you want to know. And if you don't want to know something, you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff you avoid knowing, which deep down you do know.
And you try and live with it.
Yeah, I think David Hume was the other philosopher. He said basically your mind acts as the press secretary for where you want to be. You know, so most of the time when we're trying to give rational arguments, we're not really trying to discover something new. We're not really open, you know, to new truths. Yeah. We're just justifying where we want to be. We're just coming up with reasons
and always justify.
Yeah, half the time the so-called rational mind, all we're doing is just justifying.
It's true, because like
know?
You see people that's been in one mindset and they're very like adamant about it, like say they believe in unicorns or something, they'll argue the point to the max. Then you prove to them that there's no unicorns, and then they'll argue that to the max. So like you were talking about in one of the interviews about theos, like there's a fight in man. It's just What are they really fighting for? You know?
I think, you make an important point, which is that, particularly when it comes to religious things, people think, you'll change someone's mind about their religion through a good argument. But most people don't come to their faith through a good argument, so why would they change it through a good argument? It's not that most people come to faith or abandon faith, like most atheists. It's not necessarily based on good arguments.
It's experience or something that happens.
Whatever it is, if what I say is, if a good argument didn't get you to that position, why do you think it's going to shift you from there?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Most of the, Wittgenstein was the one pointing out, most of the things we believe most deeply have no particular rational argument behind them. Things like the people who say they are my parents really are my parents. For most of us, I'm assuming you're not adopted, we assume it's not so much that our parents ever maybe even told us that. We just always assumed that. Yeah. As Wittgenstein says, the problem is not like it's a bit like the game Jenga.
Yeah.
You pile all those wood pieces on, right, and you've got some really vital pieces down the bottom. There's the little beliefs on the top. You can take them off, right? But when you're talking about things like the people who say they're my parents, that's like one of those sticks right down the bottom of the pile.
Foundation.
It's foundational. Nobody maybe even taught you that, but it's so foundational to everything else you think. If you pull that one out, mate, the whole stack looks like it's going to collapse. Now, I think religious beliefs are often like that. You know what I mean? We come to certain understandings of God and of ourselves, and maybe God knows how we got to that position, you know what I mean? But they're deep, and it's not so much that there's a particular belief holding that up, it's that everything else is interpreted through that. So they become like the deep planks at the bottom of the pile, and if through some crisis of faith, that gets pulled out.
So would you agree that like you're always shifting, you're always being like stretched and forced to grow, sort of thing, in life? Would you say that if that's the case, if we're continually growing, how could anyone stick to himself into one denomination?
It's hard, brother. That's
a good big question. No. I'm not trying to doubt your faith. I'm just trying to understand.
No. But I think, as you might know, I'm about to publish my second book on Christians and Muslims.
And what was that named?
Well, it's just going to be called Christians and Muslims Could Be Friends.
That's not,
okay, straightforward.
Straight to the point, yeah.
But my key point I make in that book is that every religion has two dimensions. It's got like a belief side and it's got like a tribal side. Okay, so it's about what you believe and it's about who you are, who your people are, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, so you're from a Middle Eastern background,
That's right.
A lot of people don't understand why on your passport, say if you're Syrian, you've got like your religions on your passport.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's your tribe, that's your people, right? We think, religion's whatever you think. Well, historically it wasn't. Historically it was a family thing, a community thing, a political thing.
It's the way you did life, yeah.
Exactly, and it still is in a lot of parts of the world, right?
For sure.
We treat it like just sort of
like a keyring, like an additive to our life.
Exactly, something you take it or leave it, No, it's still in a lot of countries, in a lot of cultures in the world, it's fundamental to who you are.
Oh, that in the Middle East, like I've got a dual passport, so I'm a citizen of both, but being over there, religion is in the, like, hello. Even when you say hello to someone, when you say goodbye, when you buy something, you want to...
Well, mind you, it's in our history as well. When you say goodbye, that's actually short for God be with you.
Okay, God, yeah.
But, look, I'll tell you a good example for me. I remember a good friend of mine who's an Iranian friend who was told me of the time he met Jesus. He had like an experience of Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was when he was being tortured. Now I can't remember whether it was under the Shah or subsequent to that, but the guy, he said that the guys had his head in a bag and they were kicking the bag and he was bleeding and choking on his own blood. I mean, it was like close to death, right? And he said he met Jesus at that point and he cried out, Jesus is the Son of God. He said, I had this revelation, in the
middle of that.
In the middle of this experience, right? And I said, so you're a Christian? He said, no, I'm a Shia Muslim, man, come on. I said, yeah, of course you are. Right? Because it's not about...
identity,
it's not about belief, it's about your identity, it's about who you are, that's your people.
Yeah.
And...
that's the misconception, but in the West, they don't understand.
No, and we say, why get worked up about a trivial thing like religion? That's like saying, why get worked up about the fact you're black?
Yes,
come on,
identity,
it's who you are, man. Come on, it's who you are. Don't trivialise my religion or my colour or my my identity. This is my people we're talking about. This is who I am. So you get back to this issue of switching denominations. Well, I think really is from my faith perspective, particularly. I don't think you want to deny who your people are. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the key is not to think that your people is better than anybody else's people.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's the key thing. Because no one goes to war over doctrine. For me, there's a lot of religious violence in our world, right? People make a lot out of the religious violence in the name of Islam, but there's a lot of violence associated with the Christian West as well, man, right? Yeah. So, but the reality is, no one goes to war over doctrine, over belief. We go to war because my people are better than your people, man, or because your people killed my brother, or because you people think you're better than my people. Right, it comes down to the tribal. It's tribalism, which is, and religion's a natural tribal identity marker. So it's an easy way in which to gather tribal identity and motivate people. Look, these bastards, these Christians, these Muslims, these whatever they are, they're not us, man.
No, that's so true because I have first-hand experience about that in the Middle East. Like even being from another family could make you look down different.
Totally.
So I understand that 100%. I want to talk about Syria because you've been to Syria personally. You've actually touched the people there. You've boxed with them and all that sort of stuff.
I've been to Syria 8 times in the last 6 years.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So your passport's got a lot of stamps on it.
Mate, this is it. I can't go to the US now.
Because there's too much in the Middle East.
They look at my set. They'll see 16 stamps to Syria and 8 to Iran. So
I think that's that guy off.
I'm going to have trouble getting in.
But talking about that tribal stuff, because I know personally in Lebanon now there's a revolution happening, and the people, I think the everyday people have done away with all that tribal stuff from a long time ago.
For me, Lebanon is the most extreme example of tribalism I've ever seen, in both a good sense and in a bad sense.
You're right.
I mean, it's built into the political system, as you know.
That's right.
And you're going through, you're driving through Lebanon, and all of a sudden, the uniforms of the police change. They're different colour, same weapons.
That's right.
But because you've gone from the Hezbollah area to the Druze area to the Christian area, different militia controlling the streets.
That's so true, man. Because but the thing is that I like the power of the internet, the power of people talking. The people have stood up, and the youth have said, "We've done away with this."
Yeah. They're moving beyond that tribalism. Maybe that would be a beautiful thing if it happens. But look, it's hard because we can't be black and white about it. Knowing who you are is very powerful. Having a sense of who your tribe is. I mean, being a pasty white guy with no particular sense of my heritage has its disadvantages. Maybe it's a good thing because I sort of don't know who I am particularly, and I can sort of feel part of everybody,
That's a good idea.
Maybe it's a good thing, but I respect someone who says, I'm an Indigenous man and I take pride in my history. I sort of envy that a bit, Or, if you're proud of being Jewish, or you're proud of being your heritage, Persian or whatever, a sense of who you are and who your people are and the pride in your history, There's nothing wrong with that. The trick is, not the trick, but the key thing is just to say, look, I'm proud of who my people are, but that doesn't mean I think my people are better than your people.
And and I suppose that's an advantage for you because you don't.
I've got no
you got no way to think. As it says in the Bible, though, so there's no Greek, there's no barbarian. We're all one under Christ, sort of thing.
This is, for me, this is the absolute fundamental of the Christian faith in particular. It's moving beyond tribalism, and recognising one tribe.
And that's a big thing back in ancient days, like Romans versus Greeks.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And I say what we experience more in the Middle East now, in Lebanon and Syria and places like this, where your religion's on your passport. That's our history. That's been all of us. It's a very modern thing. This sort of secular, religious, whatever you want it to be. And I'm not saying that's bad either.
No, there's a fine line though.
But historically, our religious tribe has been fundamental to who we are, and I think there's a lot of strength in that. There can be very strength. As long as tribalism isn't manipulated into prejudice,
and become like the God itself. The tribe becomes its God and goes away from the God.
I think you're exactly right. I think it becomes a form of idolatry in a religious sense.
No. I've experienced it firsthand, I know, because my father is from another town, another city from Lebanon, and my mum's from another town. And my mum married in that. My dad's born here, so he's Aussie, he's not into all that, but my mother was born there, and marrying from another town was like, oh, what are you doing? You're supposed to marry. And then my mum goes, no, it's love, like, trumps all that sort of stuff. You know, like...
Doesn't, you know, that's what I mean. Like, you go back Romeo and Juliet, it's the same story,
that's
tribalism.
Yeah, that's another good example.
Well, it's a classic example of where tribalism leads to violence, you know. But, moving beyond tribalism, if we could do that, and that's my point in my book, you know, from a belief angle, me and my Muslim brothers and sisters, we don't have to believe the same thing. I don't believe the same thing as half my Christian sisters and brothers.
That's one of my points. Yeah, that's so true. Even within your church that you
even in my church
shepherd, it's
now,
like,
you know, I don't necessarily believe all the same thing. A lot of those people, I don't know what some of them believe, you know.
But with amongst them, they don't believe the same thing either.
No, so it's not an issue of, well, we've all got to sign off on the same, you know, creed or anything like that. But if we can overcome the tribalism, we can be brothers and sisters. Yeah.
What's your encounters with you meet some of the muftis and stuff like that?
Mate, the Grand Mufti of Syria is one of my favourite people in the world.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, I pray for him every day.
Yeah.
Dr. Ahmed Baraldin Huswood. You know, for me...
For sure he's listening, hey?
Mate, mate, he listens to the show. So I shouldn't say that, he may be offended, and I don't mean to offend his grace the Mufti, you know. But man, he's an awesome man, honestly. I can't say too much about him. This is the man who, when they killed his son Saria at the beginning of the uprising there, he preached forgiveness at the funeral.
Wow.
You know, like he said, I've got one mother grieving, I don't want more mothers grieving, put down your weapons, rejoin your country. It is to the people who killed his son. You know, there's a whole mob. His son wasn't like, he was a uni student, you know, he wasn't like into the politics or anything. It's not. But they killed him because he was his son. And he forgave them. In fact, he told me personally when I was sitting with him that a year after his son was killed, they caught two of the men who had killed his son. Like there was a whole group, basically gang killed him, you know, but two of the men, and he went to the prison and he asked the judge to forgive them. And he offered them money to rehabilitate.
And
seriously.
And so you don't hear these stories on the news?
Mate, the stuff you hear, the Mufti's ordered fatwa of the people of Aleppo. I did a little interview, if you look on my YouTube channel, specifically with him on that subject, because he said, look, my family's in Aleppo, you know, as if he'd ordered the death of his own family. Forgot. I mean, it's just, if you know the man, it's just ridiculous.
Bananas,
he is the only religious leader in the world. The first words he said to me last time I saw him, I love you. Now, maybe if I met the Pope, you know, I think he's a great man, you know, he would say the same, I don't know, right? But I know no other religious leader in the world who's ever greeted me with those words. The first thing he said to me when he saw me, you know. And I've been in quite a few times, so it's not as if he's just saying it to everybody, you know, but I love that man.
Yeah.
I pray for him every day, you know, and I think you got to, you know, they say like the fish rots on the head, you know, like I think it works the other way around too. You've got a man of integrity like that at the top, it affects everybody. And you've got to ask, one of the reasons why has Syria survived the onslaught of so many foreign nations trying to destroy it, you know, whereas Iraq was destroyed and Libya and, you know, look what's happened to Afghanistan and Somalia, and, you know, you look at the various countries that have been under regime change wars. Syria's like Stalingrad, I reckon. Like, you know, like both the Russian and the French empires have turned back to Stalingrad. You know, Syria's where to be honest, the American empire's been turned back. You know, you look at the progress of the devastation to one country after another. What was it under Obama itself? They made war on, I think, 8 majority Muslim countries. But Syria, man, they got turned back. Now, what was it? Why did they so underestimate the strength of Syria? It wasn't because they got the most powerful armaments or most powerful army. There's something about the strength of the Syrian people, man. I mean, this sounds prejudiced, you know, but I've got so much respect for the Syrian people.
No, not at all.
And I think so much of it comes from the leadership of people like the Mufti.
No, for sure.
A man who's full of love and who leads. He's technically the second most powerful man in the country, you know.
You know what they say, like, I think one misconception is that they think Syria and Lebanon are just all majority Muslim country, but not understanding that we've lived with each other for thousands of years. Exactly.
And you look in the streets of old Damascus, you'll see a church and a mosque and a synagogue, so all in the same street. You know, and I tell you, so I've got to tell you one more thing.
No, keep going, talk as much as you want.
Mate, when I asked the Mufti, I said, Your Grace, how many Christians are there in Syria? You know, he said, 22 million. I said, well, hang on, how many Muslims are there in Syria? He said, 22 million. He said, we don't discriminate. He said, I'm the mufti of the Sunni, the Shia, the Christians, the Jews, the atheists too, if they'll have me. You know, that's him. So
and the Alawi as well, there's Alawi...
of course, our Druze and lots of... But the point is, he's so not into tribalism.
Yeah, he's opposite to it.
Yeah, like what he believes, you know what I mean? This is what I mean, it's the distinction of religious belief and religious tribalism. What he believes, and, you know, I'm sure me and him could disagree on, argue, but we'd argue as the best of friends.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
not the...
Because, and he knows who his tribe is, who his people are, and I know, you know, but he doesn't think his people are better than my people, or he loves my people too. You know, that's the model for religious harmony. You know, it's not denying who your people are, and it's not denying what you believe, but it's recognising that my people and your people, we're all God's people.
Why is it that we try to make we're better than you? What is that?
Mate, why is it that we do that at so many levels? Why is it that we think that we're better because we're white than black people, or that we're black, you know, or that men are better than women, or than anything, you know? It taps into some deep insecurities within us, whereas we have to sort of assert one aspect of ourselves and say that makes us superior to other people. I guess it comes at a psychological level, comes back to a sense of our own insignificance or something that we're trying to deal with, you know, God knows. But I don't know if you've seen that woman, I can't remember her name, who teaches the kids that blue-eyed kids are smarter than brown-eyed kids, and then
that documentary, yes.
Yeah, I've seen that work so many times, you know, when I was studying psych. You know, the point is, it could be anything. You know, it could be your religion, it could be your skin colour, it could be your gender, it could be, pick anything, it could be your eye colour, you know. You can use that as a mark that I'm special because I've got blue eyes.
And it could be in your workplace.
And you're a bloody brown-eyed bastard, whatever, you know what I mean?
Like managers and bosses, that
people will pick whatever characteristic there is that feel good about that if they have to latch on to something. It's deep identity issues.
That's another big subject to talk about, identity, like.
Yeah.
Is that where you found yourself, was through like bumping into Jesus?
Yeah, I think so. And certainly my identity as part of the church was a key thing for me. Finding a sense of family. You know, I mean, coming from a sort of broken family, and I'm not trying to diss my lovely brothers, but I think discovering sisters and brothers in the church community was a huge healing thing.
Oh, no.
Huge healing thing for me, discovering a community. And I guess in terms of who my people are, I guess the church are my people. You know, they've always been
one
my
sort
people.
of group, yeah. The youth here, you deal with them all the time, you know, boxing, whatever. But what's the difference between the youth here and then going to Syria and Middle East, and what are the kids like there? And I know they're very forward. They got a lot of confidence over there sometimes with the parents that they give them, even though they don't have much. What is it about the youth that's difference between?
Look, I can't pretend to, you know, have the sort of insight at the personal level into the young people there. But what I find with the young people there is they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot. You know, I remember one boy, one of our other boys with us, Danny, was saying that I don't speak Arabic, so you know I'm often people are translating. But this kid, you know, he'd lost his mum and his dad, and he was still positive, you know, and he was saying, oh, it's not as bad as my mate Mohammed, you know, he's lost his house and all his sisters and brothers as well, you know, like still being able to see a positive thing in it. There's a lot of resilience amongst some of those people, but they've all seen so much death, you know. You know, Syrian who's lived through the last 7 years now hasn't been touched by the violence, you know, and it's so many parents without kids, so many kids without parents, so many, and really the remarkable thing is, I'm not saying there aren't people who are bitter and angry, but the extent to which that hasn't taken over. You know, I mean, Syria's got a Ministry of Reconciliation.
In the government, yeah?
In the government, yeah. I know Ali Khaida, the Minister for Reconciliation. He's a wonderful man.
And what's his role consist of? Who is he trying to reconcile?
Well, if you're a Syrian and you've been fighting for the other side, and you decide you've had a gutful, I've met guys, you know, back in 2013 when it was really bad. I remember talking to this guy through a translator, and he was saying, look, you know, I had no money, I had no job, they offered me $50 a month and all the cigarettes I could smoke. I joined the rebellion, you know. He said, then I get there I find out my commander's not even Syrian, he's Chechen. I'm told I'm not a real Muslim, I've got to sleep on the floor. I've gone from poverty and unemployment to beheadings and slavery, I wanted out.
Yeah.
So I contacted the Ministry of Reconciliation, signed the papers, now I'm out.
Wow.
Now, thousands of people, see, they don't tell you this in the West.
No, I didn't
thousands, oh mate, thousands of, tens of thousands maybe of people have signed these papers. Now, there's some chagrin, hang on, wasn't that the guy who killed my sister? But on the whole, these people have been integrated back into Syrian society.
So,
I don't know if someone now fighting for the Syrian army, but they're out of the fight. What was the name of that French priest who was killed in Aleppo too? Because he was actually one of the guys you go to get the papers. Yeah. He got murdered. These are bridging people. But look, I was there in 2000 and what was it? When I was there in 2014, I think I was with Professor Simon Keyes from Manchester University, and he runs a Reconciliation Studies department. It's the only one in the world, right? And he'd gone there specifically to Syria to meet Ali Haider, the Minister for Reconciliation, because he said, this is unique in human history. He said nowhere else in the world that he knows of in any point in human history has had a Ministry of Reconciliation going while the war's still happening.
Wow.
He said other places like South Africa have a reconciliation program happening after the violence has stopped.
Yeah.
Right? But he said Syria's doing it while the violence is still going. And they said that's remarkable. And Ali Haider himself is an interesting guy because he ran against Bashar al-Assad in the last election.
Wow.
And he's been in prison. He's done his time as an opposition, right? Not easy position. But after he lost, they said, you want to be a government portfolio. And he said, well, only if you give me the Ministry of Reconciliation. They said, you got it.
Uh-huh.
So, this is a reminder that the Syrian government is a lot more nuanced than people realise. With very black and white, he's a dictator and they're all this, they're all that, There's a lot more variation and a lot more variation within that and within the government than people realise.
Right.
Interestingly, Ali Haider was part of those initial protests back in Homs. That's where that French guy's from, Homs. Back in the original protest back at Homs, which was 2012? And he said, we were protesting, and he said, then one day we noticed these guys turn up with guns. And we don't recognise them. We say, what are the guns for? They say, well, in case there's trouble. We say, why would there be any trouble? He says, then we notice there's guns firing from our crowd at the police, and they're starting to fire back, and we got out. So in other words, Ali Haider was part of the protest, but he is saying from the very beginning, these peaceful protests were hijacked,
manipulated,
by other elements, and we know where they were coming from now. Courtesy of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel's, they're foreign agents coming in, turning the thing violent.
Let's hold on to that point. I'm gonna play a few songs. It's 9:13, and we finish at 8. And 7:13. What am I saying? 9. Sorry, I looked at 19:13 because it's a 24-hour time. It's 7:13. Yeah. Sorry, man. We're going to talk about Julian Assange and all that sort of stuff after the break.
I can go on more about Syria too. But
we're going to talk about keep it about Syria. I want to get into that as well, and then we'll finish it off. It's Radio Skid Row 88.9. This one here is called All I Need Is You, and it's by Lecrae. It's Radio Skid Row. You're listening to Good Smoke. It's Radio Skid Row 88.9, and you're listening to Good Smoke. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Remember that number, 9550-9552. Also check out goodsmoke.com.au, radioskidrow.org, and check out Father Dave on fatherdave.org, is it?
Yeah, fatherdave.org, fatherdave.com.au, just
type that in Father Dave. It comes up straight away as the first one. And also his parish is our Holy Trinity Church in Dulwich Hill, and there's a website for that too, check that out. Yeah. Just before the song break, we'll talk about Syria and the youth there and what you've been doing. You also have another story about Syria that's...
No, I wanted to show you the one more story, which is to do with the hat I'm wearing, brother.
You got to understand
put the hat back on.
Put it on. A lot of the people listening, I have friends that they have a Syrian background, so they'll be loving what you're talking about and giving some experience.
Well, I appreciate a lot of people are divided on the issue of Syria, and I think a lot of people have been sucked in by the media bullshit about Syria. And when they see I'm wearing like Syrian army hat, they say, "Why the hell these butchers?" The person who gave me this hat gave me an interesting story, and I know it's true. He was in Duma, just south of Damascus, and he told me the story that some guys there they're in a flat, right? And one day they look out and they see the jeeps, you know, of Jabhat al-Nusra coming through the town. You know, the black utes, you know, with the black machine guns.
And the back and
guys
yelling.
Right? And he says, these guys, he says, they go inside, they lock their doors and they get out their guns. Right? Now he says they're not getting out their guns to fight these guys because they know that they can't fight them. They're getting out their guns to shoot their children.
Their own children?
Their children. Because they know what these people will do to their children if they capture them. You know, they've heard what's happened to the other children, the rape of babies, the sex slavery of the girls, the torture of children. You know, these people, and I believe it's true because they say, oh, we have to instill fear, you know, that's our currency of
weaponry,
that's our weapon, fear. So they torture children, you know, and whether, even if it's not true, these people believe their children are going to be tortured, and so they're going to give their children a quick and dignified exit from this world rather than see them tortured to death, and then they'll take their own lives, you know.
That's heartbreaking.
Man, now then they hear some shooting outside, right? They look outside, they see these colours of the Syrian Arab Army, right? Now they know their kids are going to school tomorrow instead of to the cemetery.
People don't understand that.
Man, that's what these colours mean for me. You know, I met a lot of Syrian soldiers. I mean, as a young man, you can't get a job except as a soldier, right? And a lot of soldiers die, and I've met guys, you know, who are in wheelchairs, and I've seen a lot of. I mean, one guy, he's got a young baby girl. You know, he's a top bloke, and he says, first time I killed someone, you know, I threw up. You know, I couldn't deal with it. And he said, then I had to tell myself, the only thing between them and your daughter is you. He said, after that, I had no problem killing her. I killed hundreds of them. This guy had been retired, he had 3 bullet holes in him. You know, he could show you the marks, you know. And he said, particularly, you know, like the Australians and that, who, the foreigners, he said, they have no respect for them. They come over here, they strap bombs to them, they say, go blow a hole through that wall, see you in heaven. You know, it's totally
warped.
Yeah. But people, you know, Australia has the highest sign-up rate of anywhere in the world, percentage-wise, for people joining ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra, things like this, Al-Qaeda.
Why is that, you reckon?
That's a really good question, but it's true. Percentage-wise, I mean, because I've worked close with the AFP and a lot of stuff, federal police, I've been privy to this, and we work with trying to teach the boxing and get kids who are like, we get Christian, Muslims, everyone working together, you know,
nice,
and part of just trying to break down that us and them mentality, that tribalism we were talking about. And I think it's that tribalism is what you'll get kids. I think, let's face it, the West has been pulverising majority Muslim countries for quite a while now, you know, and I can understand why people like al-Baghdadi and others can appeal to the moral self-righteous, say, look, we've been taken at the backside for long enough, stand up, do something, come and join us, help us. You know, this is your tribe, these are your people, they're being oppressed.
Attractive, eh?
Yeah, so you're a young man, you're angry, you're feeling disillusioned, you're feeling like alienated from the larger society here, and they say, come and be one of the boys, come on, help us, help your tribe, help your people.
And that's a big thing, one of the boys.
You know, and that's it. But then you get over there, you find you've been sold a lie. You know, they treat you like crap. They throw you into the front line, say blow a hole through that wall, see you later. It's too late, man.
It's way too late.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, but it's interesting. We know why Australia, because last time I remember, it's like 120 Australian kids over there in Syria, Iraq. There's not many, right? Indonesia's got more than 500, right?
Yeah.
But Indonesia's got 200 million Muslims.
Yeah,
We've got less than half a million here, right?
Yeah.
So percentage-wise, man, we're leading the world.
Wow.
So why is that? You know,
somewhere.
And I think we've got to look at ourselves, all of us, as to why there are so many young Muslim men feeling alienated from the broader Australian society, and feeling they've got to go and stand with their brothers. You know?
Do they feel isolated even when they're here within their own communities?
Look, I think everyone's different, man. I'm not
I mean, like with the
obviously there are a lot of people, you know. Obviously there are a lot of people in Australian society who are feeling alienated from the broader community, and I certainly have met a number of. But I met a lot of young people in this. Everywhere they feel alienated.
Yeah, so it's not a special thing. Just
but if you can latch onto this tribal identity thing, you can manipulate people through that. That's how warmongers have been doing it for generations.
Yeah, even child soldiers and all those ones in Africa and stuff like that.
it's the history of the world latching on to tribal identity as a means to making war.
So
it's a classic form of manipulation of religious identity. But that's exactly what it is. It's manipulation, man.
So you could say that the theory that we're talking about with with the kids releasing out for fighting and stuff like that, maybe that with the guns it's the warped version of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think in a sense, yeah. I think boys want to be rough play and the rest of it. Yeah, you can pervert that. There's an inner warrior within us. I used to say that half the guys I was dealing with were like beating their women, and others were doormats. They couldn't work out how to find it. There's this warrior within, but it gets perverted, distorted. It does violence. Yeah. If you can learn to tame the wild man, give him an outlet, teach him in rough play, and in a creative, positive way, in a good environment. It's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
And then you can really bring out the warrior. That warrior can do other good things, stand up, fight for things worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Because frankly we've got, it sounds awful, but like far too many wimps in our society. Like when it comes to politicians, where are the Mother Teresa's, where are the Martin Luther Kings? Where are the people who really stand up and tell it like it is?
Yeah.
No, everybody just wants to say what they think people want them to say.
Yeah. Like the word theos, was it themos?
Themos, that's the Greek word. Yeah.
And you were saying that everybody's got this themos. Everybody's got this fight.
It's interesting. Yeah, I'm taking it from Plato's Republic.
Yeah.
Because Plato says in the Republic that he looks at what's a good society. That's the theme of the Republic. What is good? And he says, you look at the big model good society. It's got three elements. It's got the rulers. It's got the workers. It's got the army.
Yeah.
Right. And he says the individual human being likewise has a ruler. It's got workers and it's got an army. Yeah, it's got the army. So in the individual, that translates into the mind, the body, and the themos, which for the Greek understanding was, in that ancient philosophical understanding, is like 1/3 of the human being, that fighting spirit.
Has that fighting spirit,
Yeah, and I think we so regularly associate that fighting spirit with violence, like domestic violence and abuse.
Yeah.
And it can become that, But the truth is, that's the same themos that made Mother Teresa who she was, that made Martin Luther King who he was, that makes great warriors fighting for justice and peace, who they are.
So the fight you're talking about, the fight you're talking about is those type of people that
we need to harness that energy, that aggressive energy, and direct it in a positive way. And I think, quite honestly, fight training is a way of learning to harness that energy and control it. Yeah.
And that's what you see in Jesus as well, like he even says, like in one of the verses, how you think I can't, where Peter stabs one of the soldiers from getting Jesus, and he goes, you think I don't have a legion of angels around the corner that can protect me, where he's the warrior in the garden instead of a gardener in a war. You know what I mean? Like he's a warrior, but he's controlling himself, sort of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, you see the aggression of Jesus in the temple when he drives out the
money
the beast, turns over the money tables. He was capable of showing aggression. He just wasn't into destroying people.
Yeah.
And when Peter lashes out like a crazy bastard, cuts off someone's ear. Well, obviously he wasn't going for his ear. He was going for his head.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe he'd had a bit much to drink. God knows.
That's right.
Seriously.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I reckon they probably had one too many at the Last Supper too, I mean, that's my image of the guys in the garden, most of the disciples are a little bit drunk, they're all over work
and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're all over the place, man, and Jesus is trying to keep them under control and no to violence,
And they're young too, these disciples. They're not like older gentlemen. They're around 16, 15, 17, some of them?
I don't know exactly, but I don't know exactly.
Some of the research...
But mate, they're full of passion.
Yeah.
And Jesus uses that in the end in a good way, but they have to learn to control it. And we all need to learn to control our passions. But at the same time, we don't want to learn to control them by denying them, destroying them, subduing them. We've got to learn to... We need to be passionate people. We've just got to learn to direct our passions.
Let's get on the topic of Julian Assange, because that's a very thing dear to your heart, and an interesting topic as well that's happening in Australia, because he himself is an Aussie.
Yeah.
And he's rocked the world a bit with what he's done, and
God bless him.
Yeah, God bless him. Let's just quickly, not quickly, in detail, what he actually did, so people can understand, because I think we've just skimmed over it too fast. and yeah, from there we'll go ask questions.
I think what's interesting is to think what he did, which has got him into so much trouble at the moment, because as you know, the Americans are out to lock him up and throw away the key, and they're specifically wanting to do that over the collateral murder video. I think it's still there, collateralmurder.com. That was the material that was leaked to him by then Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning. So if you remember that video we all saw of that helicopter gunship over Baghdad shooting up a group of civilians on the ground, including a number of children. It was just a horrible image of murder. And that Manning released that to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks published that. Now you would think the natural outcome of that would be that the president or whatever would see that and say, "Oh my God, look what we've done," and prosecute perhaps the people who did it, or certainly make some inquiry and apologies to the families who were killed and all sorts of. No, let's go after the guy who published that and destroy him.
Jail,
yeah, destroy him. And it's just that specifically. It's specifically that Bradley Manning video, the collateral murder video, which they're trying to get him on. They're saying that he helped Manning breach security protocols. Or so, whatever.
Yeah. But what's more important? What's more priority? The death of people?
Of course, it's. See, in this country and I think in America too, if you refuse to report a crime, that is a crime. Like if you see a crime going on, like out in the street there, we see someone attacking someone else and we just look the other way. That's a crime. You can't do that. You see someone being attacked and you just walk away. That's rightly so. You got, even if you can't intervene, call the police, do something, draw attention to it, make it public.
For a rock setting or something,
This is what Julian's done. He's made their crimes public, and instead of being thanked for that, he's being hunted down, and he's been persecuted in the way he has been for the last, how many years now, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I had the privilege of meeting him in the Ecuadorian embassy there back in, was it 2014, 15? Anyway, he was in much better health and strength then, I think, than he is now.
Was he smelly?
Oh, it's ridiculous. all this rubbish.
Let's get into that, because
there's been a sustained campaign of character assassination against him that's taken so many forms. Lately it's been, he smelt, he's unhygienic, and also associated with these alleged rape charges. There never were any rape charges. Can you
explain that? What is that?
Well,
what really
people
happened?
make out that he was wanted to be tried for rape. There was no charge of rape ever. He was wanted for an investigation possibly leading to charges of rape. So it was very tenuous, and it's evaporated now, of course, because there's never anything to it. And Julian was always saying, no, they don't really want me in Sweden, they want me in America. This is just a pretext to get me out of the embassy. And, since they've got him out of the embassy, those rape charges have disappeared. So, they never were charged, but even the desire for an investigation and an interview on those charges, they've lost interest. It's evaporated because it was never real. It was never real.
So what happened with I know the Ecuadorian government, was it in London that he was staying at, right?
In the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
In London, right?
Yeah.
So
there was a change of president.
That was the problem. What is that like? Because they let him in. They were very
yes. But the new president got in bed with the Americans.
There you go.
Who knows what went on behind closed doors? But all of a sudden, the new president basically let the local police in to arrest him.
And what was the conditions like when you walking in?
Look, it was not a big place. There was only 1 floor and 2 rooms he had. So it was very much like a prison. But he'd do interviews and things and do exercise in one room and he'd sleep in the other room. So it was
keep his mental right.
Yeah, I mean he was doing really well, all things considered. And at that stage he had internet access, he could communicate, and that's what happened when the new president came in and the new deal was made. They just shut him down piece by piece and eventually pulled him out.
So at this current state, where is he at now?
He's in Belmarsh prison. He's in like a maximum security jail, which in itself is just ridiculous. There, like as if he was a serial rapist or murderer or something. Why on earth would you have to put him in a maximum security facility? There's no reason for it except to humiliate him and to get him used to what is to come,
Listen, I can understand why they don't like that Chelsea Manning, right? Like, and I know it's not right. I don't agree with it at all. But I can understand the wisdom not to let like secret documents out, whatever. But with Julian Assange, he was simply the guy to.
He published.
Yeah, and I don't understand. He seems like he's getting treated like he murdered.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a murderer. But I mean, Chelsea's back in prison as well, because she's refusing to testify against him. Yeah, say no more. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the people who've uncovered the truth, and they're being.
They've been tried for
Yeah,
murder.
I mean, the argument always is, oh, you know, his revealing these stuff could put the lives of any number of people at risk. Well, you reckon with the number of people the US has working on the Julian Assange case, if they'd come up with someone whose life had been compromised by the stuff which has been released by WikiLeaks, you don't think they would have publicised that by now?
Yeah,
you know,
who
so the truth is,
people, yeah.
and they've said openly, they said, well, as far as they know, no one has actually been damaged by any of the things WikiLeaks has published.
So it's just they just want to get him because they got.
They're making out that's the reason, but the truth is they know no one's been damaged by what he said. Well, sorry, lots of people have been damaged. Hillary Clinton.
And let's not get into that.
No, but any number of powerful people have been deeply embarrassed because he's shown them to be two-faced. He's shown them to have blood on their hands. He's shown corruption in high places, for which we should all be deeply grateful. He's been holding the people in power accountable to the rest of us.
And what's wrong with that, eh?
Well, what's wrong is they do not appreciate it.
They don't want accountability.
No, they don't want accountability.
But these are the people that are supposed to be working for the people.
Supposed to be. But we know full well that's not. They're working for the corporations, they're working for, you know...
big money and
yeah,
farmers.
The big companies.
Pharmaceutical companies, whatever.
Big businesses, you know. It's like in the Terminator, you know. There's the machines that are in control. The business machines. And these people are serving them, and they don't want to be held accountable.
Talking about government and stuff, you also made a trip to Manus Island.
Yeah.
And you actually snuck in there.
We snuck in there in the middle of the night into the detention centre. That was back in November, or was it December of 2000, year before, I was 17. So it was at that time when they were closing down, trying to move all of the men to a new facility.
Before you go on that, what is Manus Island for people that don't know?
Well, that was what they call it, the Refugee Processing Centre or something.
Yeah.
You know, basically it was a prison. It was a prison for people who were trying to escape their country to get to Australia.
By boats and stuff like that. Yeah.
But, you know, they're being treated, imprisoned like criminals.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, they keep saying it's a crime to enter Australia it's not a crime. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. International law, it's not a crime. If you're in trouble, like if you're in a burning house and you jump out of your house and onto my lawn, you're not trespassing. That's right. That's right. If you're running out of a burning building and you run onto my property, that's not trespassing. Okay? Because you're an asylum seeker. You need help. Now, I know they do a test to see, are these people genuine? Were they genuinely in trouble? And I think just about every case, all the people I met, they'd been assessed as being genuine asylum seekers who were in real trouble where they were. So there was no question of sending them back, but the Australian government would not let them in here, and so they kept basically in prison. Some of those guys have been there for years and years, young men, you know, like I remember this guy saying, you know, I was a soccer star, but, you know, I was hoping to be a professional player, but, you know, I spent my last 4 years here, no chance now, you know, like they're just wasting away, you know, on Manus. And
is there something that they can do on that island where is Manus Island?
Okay, Manus Island was off the mainland of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
A little island there up on the...
Is that owned by Australia or?
Well, it's part of Papua New Guinea. Yeah.
So it's under the government.
The Manus men see themselves as a separate, ethnically distinct group. They see them as South Sea Islanders.
Okay.
You know? But anyway, all the guys who were there that we were meeting with, they weren't the locals there. They're from Pakistan, they're from Iran, they're from all sorts of places. A lot of places where our country's bombed, you know, from Syria. You know.
All the wars and that.
Yeah, wars which we've been involved in a lot of cases, you know, in Afghanistan and elsewhere. Yeah. Yeah,
So what-
most of them aren't there now. Most of them are the men I met. A lot of them are in Moresby now, in Port Moresby,
Okay.
in the mainland Papua New Guinea.
What's that? Is that in a prison now or just?
No, they're just trying to make a life for themselves while they wait for some country to take them.
Ah.
I mean, look, there's a few. I think 4 of those men are still on Manus Island, and I think maybe they've hooked up with local women there, and maybe starting families. Maybe they're going to stay on Manus, you know.
Yeah.
And the Manus people are beautiful people. You know, they said, look, these men want to stay here. We'll do our best. They were saying, but we were never consulted. Someone came and slaps this prison down. You know, no one asked, was that okay?
Is that Australian prison?
Sorry, no, they were talking to the people of Manus Island.
Yeah.
The Minusian people, who are beautiful people.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a very different lifestyle there, man. You know, like
More
they live in their little
huts and
huts.
stuff,
You know, it's not a
So how do you expect this little island to take so many people?
exactly.
The resources and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you got to think a lot of these people who are coming in from, say, you know, from Pakistan or Iran or something like that. They're coming. Culturally, they come from a completely different world, you know. It's these were professional people, you know. A lot of engineers there. I remember, like
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Doctors and
yeah. Well, you this is it. You go in there and they show you around and say, "Well, see how we've rigged up the electricity here, and we've rigged up a water system here."
Yeah.
Okay, these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing which really got to me when I was there. Was when I went over there, they were refusing to leave the decommissioned detention centre. And they'd say, oh, they're building a new one, but they won't go to the new one. Why not? You know, they're mentally ill. And I thought, I don't know. You know, when I got there, I discovered why. It's interesting. I was reading a book on the way there called Tribe, which was talking about the importance of tribal identity.
Yeah.
I found the best functioning tribe I've ever seen on Manus Island. These men, they were a band of brothers.
they all work together.
Mate, look, as I said, they had a centralised healthcare system. You know, they were pooling all their medications. The medical professionals were helping distribute them. Those who were mentally ill, they were being like rostered on. They had people looking after them different hours of the day, making sure they were taken care of. You know, the engineers, they were organising the electricity and the water. Everybody's pulling together. They had a centralised government there with Batharus Bachani and what was the other guy's name? Aziz. You know, basically being key men who helped organise the group. It's the best bloody functioning tribe I've ever seen. You know, it was a band of brothers. And of course you think, okay, why would these guys leave their brothers who they know they can trust at the word of the Australian government who they know they can't trust? To go somewhere that, you know, the government, oh, you'll be fine there. They'll stay with their brothers. They'll live and die with them, you know, and that's... So it was a really impressive tribe of men, and this has reminded me it wasn't a prison. And I went in there with Jared McKenna and Olivia Rousset, and Olivia and I got out that night. I mentioned I was.
You snuck through, eh? You tried.
When the Navy found us, because the Navy was next door, you know, we bolted, and I got in the boat and got out. So I almost drowned because that's another story. But the other two. Olivia and Jared were stuck in there for the night. They're the first Australians ever to spend the night in the Australian detention facility. But
you're not allowed in there at all, eh?
No. But what was interesting was Olivia, she's a young, attractive woman, right? Surrounded by, I think at that stage, I can't remember, 150 sex-starved men, right? You think she's at risk? Not at all. They said, well, you're our sister. We take good care of you. And she never felt under threat from these men, you know? And I think that was indicative. These guys are not prisoners, they're not criminals, they're very good men.
Family people and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they looked after her, they looked after us like they...
And they're all from different backgrounds.
Mate, but they were one
and
because of,
that's what we talked about
because
before.
Because of their suffering.
Because of their main goal is to live. And
well, they had to pull together.
Yeah,
they had to learn to be a tribe together.
Yeah.
To survive.
And that just proves that if you're like in any tribe and inclusive just to you, that just proves otherwise. Like everyone from different backgrounds.
That's a very good point.
Can work
That's
together.
a very good point. Yeah, there was a beautiful sense of community amongst these men.
And that's the point of Australia, right?
A true band of brothers. You know?
Isn't that the point of Australia? Why it exists is that we're all different, multicultural, supposed to work together.
Look, I think the truth is Australia does pretty well. You know, like in terms of
getting along with each other.
Yeah, in terms of looking globally.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, we've got a long way to go. You know, yeah, there's tribalism here, and if that's exploited by, you know, warmongers and others, well, it can destroy us too.
It's 7:50.
Man, already.
Yeah, we'll sign that off. Is there anything coming up for you? Are you got any event? I know that you had a Julian Assange gathering recently.
Yeah, we had a Julian gathering last Saturday night, and that was great.
Yeah.
Look, next year, I'm moving down to part-time with the church, and I'm hoping to devote a lot more time to these things. I'm hoping to get back to Manor soon, or at least to Moresby.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and take some boxes with us and do the Boxes for Peace thing.
Nice.
Just to try and highlight the situation of the Manus men who are now in Moresby. And I've got Amnesty International have approached me about that and said they want to work with us on that, so I'm excited about that possibility. Again, I've got to find the fighters, if there's some boxers listening that'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, please contact them.
And I'm hoping to really start to try and build solidarity around Julian, and support for him amongst ordinary Australian people. I think he's got a lot of support, and I'm hoping to get back to Syria again soon. I think, look, the sanctions are killing people there, and I think we need awareness of just how ordinary people, they don't want to be refugees over here. They want to get back to home. They want to rebuild their homes. They want to rebuild their country. But at the moment, the sanctions we got are making it impossible for them, and we've got to highlight that and try and let the voices of ordinary Syrian people be heard. So again, I want to get back with a group of boxers, get the Boxers for Peace team happening in Syria again, and seeing if we can't get some
event or something.
get some attention to what's going on there on the ground in Syria, because there's so much media bullshit.
It's true.
It's true enough about the Manus and about Julian, but even more so, I think, of Syria now. I think people are starting to see the truth about the sort of people we've been torturing on Manus. And I think people are starting to see the truth about Julian. I think we've still got a way before people are going to realise what's really been happening to the poor people of Syria for the last 7 years.
Oh, for sure, because Lebanon got the spills of it, and we
Lebanon's got citizenry of 4 million and 2 million refugees.
Like almost double the same thing.
It's almost like 50% of your citizenry. Like you can't. No country can deal with that many refugees. We complain over here, but for God's sake, look at what Lebanon's dealing with. It's incredible that the country's still holding together.
And like you said about the struggle, people come together. I think Lebanon and Syria, when they've always had that relationship.
Yeah, there's been a beautiful coming together, I think, for Lebanon and Syrian people.
Far from the divisions of religion. Like there's we have our Muslims and Christians together, but it's I'm telling you, I'm Aussie, I'm born here, so I can say firsthand that everybody there, religion is not like the way it's played out here. Over there, everyone's with each other.
It's a different world, but I think particularly the role of Hezbollah in Syria has been, there's a lot of respect amongst Syrian people for the Hezbollah from. They say, we make them go behind us when we lead the attacks, because we got too much respect for them. It's beautiful. But for the Russians too, man. When a Russian dies over there, the local Syrians come out and mourn. They hold up his picture and they go to the gravesites and they mourn for him, As was pointed out, you don't see many Iraqis mourning for American soldiers
that's right,
who get killed there. No disrespect for them, but the respect.
There's a relationship between them.
Yes.
And to clarify with people that are listening, we're not talking about the governments. I'm talking about the everyday
ordinary people, man.
Your government, your politics is all whatever we do, but it's affecting.
But that's the point. You see, these people, the Syrian people, see their Lebanese and their Russian brothers.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Unfortunately, the interview got cut short due to technical difficulties. Please visit radioskidrow.org and also goodsmoke.com.au. Thank you for listening to Radio Skid Row 88.9 FM. You've been listening to Good Smoke.